Hi, welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. I'm your host, Miss Kazmak. Now guys, on this show, you're going to meet some amazing, no ordinary women who are doing extraordinary, fabulous work within our community. Now some of you may or may not know about these women, but on this show, you're going to get insight of who they are, how their journey starts, so that they can inspire you to become who God created you to be. So I need you to do a couple of things just before we get in. I need you to subscribe to the channel. Yes, subscribe please. Thank you very much. And I also need you to share. Sharing is caring. And I need you to get real comfortable. And I need you to watch the break and join me on the other side. See you in a bit.
Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go?
Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you for staying. Okay, so as I mentioned before the break, that we have amazing, no ordinary women that comes into the show to share their journey so that they can inspire you to become who God created you to be. So in order for you to find out who we have on our show, let me just give you a little quick introduction. The guest that I have on the show, her name is Karen Thorpe-Reid. She is a mother of one. She's also a wife, and she has an experience in transformation and business. She's a change director with over 16 years experience in program and change management, developing and implementing strategies for change in both private and the public sector's organization. So let me not take over the limelight. Let us meet this no ordinary woman herself. Welcome, no ordinary woman, Karen. What's going on, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. Now, before we go into this interview, let me just let the viewers know I've known Karen since we were, what, 11?
11, yeah.
11.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen each other for many years.
That's very true.
And just to have on the show before we actually started the program, we were just getting into a little catching up and just, you know, anyway. But it's just amazing just to have you there and just seeing and hearing all these amazing things that you are doing within our society. So if you don't mind just sharing with our viewers who you are and about your organization.
Right, okay, so yeah, Karen Thorpe-Reid. who am I? That's an interesting question. I've been working in the transformation space for the last 15 years, and that's about taking organisations through their change journeys. So helping them to manage portfolios, understanding the programs that they have and how they're going to impact people. My specialism is around cultural and behavioural change, because no matter what you do in your organisations or in your life, it's about the way that you change your behaviour and how you do your things in a different way. So I've been working in a variety of different organisations, from, as you said, from public to private sectors, anything from sort of Haringey councils and Essex councils through to the Oyster card, and through to Network Rail. So a variety of different organisations and things.
But also now, because you've got your own organisation, you are currently the managing director of Premier Change Consulting, and you've also got some other businesses, but we're going to discuss that throughout the show. But how did that transformation happen in terms of, you know, what is Premier Change Consulting first and foremost? Okay,
so Premier Change Consulting is an organisation that helps businesses do change, basically. So we have people within the team who focus on project and programme management, and they're all qualified, and then people who focus on change and transformation. We help organisations from legal and general through, again, to Network Rail. We've just secured 2 of our largest contracts in the last couple of weeks, so we're really happy about that.
Yay.
So yeah, everyone will be getting really great Christmas gifts this year. So yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's about helping others. So everything I do in any of the careers that I've chosen, or any of the roles that I've chosen, it has been about having an impact and a change at the end of the day. We help a lot of people thrive through change, people who are in positions where they're being made redundant, and helping them to think about their kind of resilient characteristics and how they're going to use them to do things in a different way. We help with leadership development, helping organisations lead their teams better or lead their organisations better. And we also focus on sort of change and project professionals, helping them to implement change more successfully in their organisations.
That's amazing. And I like the fact that you work with people that obviously their job has been made redundant, and looking at other skills that they may have that can obviously go into different professions. But in regards to doing something like that, do you mentor these individuals as well, or how does that work?
So I think we have, as I said, we've got it's about 25 people in the team, and I tend to work with leadership, so I work with the executives and help in terms of mentoring, sometimes at development at that stage, and I'll do one-to-one coaching with those sort of individuals in different organisations. When it comes down to the individuals, we also have an online solution which we have with the only licence holders for the UK, called eChange, and that has a programme on which is an e-learning for individuals to understand that programme. But we also do it in workshop base, so we'll have a workshop. We give them an assessment which they do that starts to look at those characteristics, and in those sessions we help and guide them through how they might do that for a particular organisation. As you can imagine, some of our organisations are pretty large, so for us to mentor those individuals would be too much, absolutely. Some programmes we have 2,000 or 3,000 people that are going through the workshops. So if there is somebody that specifically needs something from us, then we're happy to support, but it just depends on what the organisation is prepared to.
So would say, like, for example, someone like myself who's come independently, would I be able to get into any of your programs independently? Or
absolutely. So we have public programs. We have one on the 19th and 20th of September, which is in London, and then we have another one in Manchester, I believe, in December. That is our practitioner programs, where people come on, they learn how to deal with change, but they also learn how to manage change. So it could also be a career change for people. A lot of times we have people who come on and take those things on board.
That's amazing. I think that's so crucial, especially in the time that we're living in, the day and age, you know, that there is nothing really as such as like job for life nowadays. Do you know what I mean? And I think with that being said, you know, you're finding people really becoming quite scared, becoming very fearful,
Absolutely.
depressed, suicidal, and things like that. So how do you then deal with someone that don't know how to really deal with that change, you know, and just feel like there's nothing else that I can absolutely, you know, I just can't do it? Do you actually just work with them? Because obviously you're doing it like in a workshop on a larger scale, but if you have the odd few people that you may need to do a bit more work, is that possible?
Yeah, there is. So Premier Angels, which is my sort of sister company to Premier Change Consulting, does focus on the individual. So we do focus on a lot of focus with women, but we do men as well. And that is about empowerment. We had our first session earlier on this year, and interestingly, because we did film the sessions, there were some very emotional moments, things that people hadn't shared previously, a lot of fears that people had that they expressed, things like women who hadn't been married, hadn't had children, and it was so deep-rooted. Although they were successful in their careers, they were so lost, and they'd spent so many years telling others that it was okay for them not to have kids, or okay not to be married or have a boyfriend or husband, yet that was something they deeply wanted. And what we helped them to do is express the fact that it's okay to feel sad that that's not happened yet. And it's not to say all is lost. Things happen later in life. I mean, I've known my husband for many years, but we only got married in 2014, so I've known him for nearly 23 years. We're going off on Monday for a surprise trip. It's sort of 10 years that we've kind of been back together, and we got engaged about 10 years ago, so I'm doing a surprise trip to Monaco with him. So he doesn't even know where we're going, he just knows we're going somewhere. But it's about knowing that your life there's no set path for us. The set path is not a path that we set. It's set by a higher power. But we sometimes don't realise that. So you know, we are taken in many different roads, many different journeys, and I think each experience is an enrichment for us. It's an empowerment. And sometimes when you're in the fog and you're depressed or you're stressed out, and I think, you know, there's, you know, everyone suffers from depression at different ends of the spectrum. And it's not easy just to say to someone, just get up, get out of it and get on with it.
Come on.
Because it is something that takes with coping mechanisms you have to have. It also means that you have to work through that, and you have to identify with yourself what the importance is and what's important for you to move yourself forward. So I think for us, we help people, we help individuals, we help from a corporate perspective, but we also help, you know, from a personal development side as well.
That's amazing. And one of the things that you did say was when you're speaking to these individuals, and you said it hasn't happened for you yet.
Absolutely.
That means there is hope.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? You know, because sometimes it's easy for us to look at society and listen to what people says, you know, oh, you haven't had a kid, or you better watch out, your biological clock is ticking now, and you're not married, or you're not getting any older, you're not getting any younger, and things like that. And like you said, it's not happened to you yet. It just means it's just not your time yet. And
absolutely.
You know, and that's what people needs to really kind of grasp and take that, rather than comparing themselves with other people. I
always say never measure your success by anyone else's standards or anyone else's success. I remember a friend of mine used to say to me, God, you know, I always see you and your son travelling all over the world, etc., and I can't do that. You know, I've got my husband and my 3 children, I can't afford to do that. And I said, as long as I've known you, all you ever said you wanted was to be married with 3 children. You're successful. You succeeded in what you aim to do. I'm a nomad, so I'm always travelling. I'm always looking for new adventures, new experiences. And I've had the honour and pleasure of having a son who has grown with me and who's gone to experience some of those things with me. He's so open to the world because of those travelling experiences. So I think it just comes down to, you see opportunities and you take them. I've not been successful in every endeavour, but it hasn't stopped me from moving forward. You know, I started my entrepreneurial journey probably when I was about 9 years old,
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
you was always the leader. I remember you in 2 days. You was always, everybody was just like, Katie. You were just a leader, you know, and that's amazing.
But I think it's one of those things that I get my entrepreneurial spirit from my dad, and I remember I'm an avid reader, and I have been for as a child, and I had over 200 books when I was about 10 years old, and what I decided to do was to label each one of those books and then lend them out as a library service.
Wow.
And then anyone that returned them late, there was a 2 cents fee, because at the time I was living out in Barbados at the time, and it gave me, and I had this little yellow cash register, you know, it's an electronic one with the, and you know, and I just collect on my things there, and you know, and I'd be writing in the books and things. And I think it's always been in my soul, my spirit, and I think, you know, they always ask the question, you know, around entrepreneurship, is that something that can be taught, or are you born with it?
What do you think?
I think that you have to have a certain drive.
Right.
And I think that there is some merit in learning some of the things that you can trip up over. So things like financial management, things like budgeting, things like understanding how you manage processes, or even some of the legal aspects of running businesses. Those things are things that you can learn. To be an entrepreneur is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. I mean, I currently am running 3 businesses together and developing, you know, as we go along.
Always traveling as well.
And always traveling. But that's my sanity. So I don't smoke, I don't drink very much or anything. So when everyone says they have a vice, my vice is my traveling. Without it, I would probably be in a constant state of depression. Really, that is the thing that. Knowing that I can get up and go and do that, and I without a shadow of doubt know that I have a lifestyle which is very fortunate, but it's one I've worked very hard to achieve. My dad had always said to me, the one thing I want for you is that you are never ever dependent on another man in your life. The only man you should ever be dependent on is me.
Wow.
And I've always had that in my mind. So I have a very respective and respectful relationship with my husband, but it's one in which I'm very much independent and my own person. And you know, I earn my own money, I own my own house. We even have, you know, we even have separate houses, sort of thing.
Right.
But it's because I've just been raised that way.
Yeah.
And
but how does it make him feel then?
Well, I think there are things that you always got to make a man feel like a man.
Of course, that's why I'm asking.
So I asked. So there are things that I could probably do myself.
Yeah.
But I ask him to do for me.
Okay.
So you know, he'll do things like the car. Do the stuff around the car, take it to the garage, get the things fixed, etc. But you know, you could also come and drive by and see me sort of under the bonnet myself as well.
Okay.
But generally, so you know, but that's because I lived alone with my son for so many years.
Yeah.
You know.
And in regards to that journey, I mean, obviously you had your child, you know, you had your son quite young as well, and you've also got business together as well, which we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
But how was that? Because, you know, you was doing a degree as well, and all of what you've been doing this without having a degree, because, you know, like there's such a huge emphasis that you've got to have a degree and you've got to have this, and I'm looking at your profile, I'm just like, really, you know, you're just making me feel like, oh my days, you know, but you've achieved so much. But yet, you know, you was pregnant with your son, you had your son, you was in the midst of doing it, and then you dropped out. Talk about that, if you don't mind sharing.
So, I don't mind sharing at all. I think my son has been the biggest gift that I could ever have experienced. At the end of the day, you have a choice. And I had a choice whether or not he came into this world. And it was I never had a doubt that I wanted him to be here. Unfortunately, my relationship with his father didn't last. But I remember coming back from New York, because that's where we were, and I came back very scared.
Was this coming back to the UK?
Came back to the UK with a small child.
How long was you living in New York?
We were there for nearly 3 years.
Okay.
So before and after I had my son, and So I was back and forth constantly during that period of time. At that time it was good because you could go and stay for 6 months at a time, because it allowed you to do that with the sort of visas that we had back then. And when I came back, I had, all I had was my A-levels, because I obviously hadn't completed the degree. And within 2 weeks of being back in the UK, I started a temporary job. My gran, fortunately for me, was able to look after my son. And within probably about 6 to 8 months of doing my temping, etc., I started with a company called OneTel, which is telecommunications. It was very small here in the UK, very large in Australia, and I had the opportunity to work in each one of the departments within OneTel. I then went on to help them to open up different offices throughout Europe.
Right.
And by the time I left them, I was their European troubleshooting manager, so looking after all of the servers and the switches in terms of things, and with all these frontline engineers. At the time, I was a whippersnapper of 25, so, you know, I spent a couple of years with them. And then my mum was relocating back to Barbados, and I took the opportunity to help her to move over, and Reese and I went over. And whilst I was there, a job came up in the newspaper, and I applied for it. I didn't think I was going to get it. At the time, it was a head of customer services for Shell Oil.
Okay.
I went through a rigorous 3-stage interview process.
Gosh.
And then
it
was very daunting. Had to role play all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got a call saying it's now come down to just 2 candidates. I later found out that the other candidate was someone in their 40s who had a master's degree, very well thought of, etc. And the person who had to make the final decision was the country chairman, who happened to be an Englishman.
Right.
Before I walked into his office, the director of HR said to me, "He's very punctual. You have 45 minutes, and at 44 minutes and 59 seconds, he will be standing up to close your interview. So please make sure that you don't go over that, because he won't be able."
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going in with this immense pressure, you know, as it is. I walked into the room, and an hour and a half later, I came out. She was so stunned. She said that's never happened at all.
So you must have been really impressed.
So we got on very well. I went back home, and a week later I still hadn't heard anything, so I thought, right, okay, probably haven't got it. I'm going to pack up and get back to the UK. And literally 6 hours before I was going to get onto the flight, the phone rang, and they said, "We've called to let you know that we'd like to offer you the position."
Amazing.
And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. So I stayed on, I think, for another week before I came back over to the UK, because I then had to pack up all my stuff to bring them up. But I remember walking into my office, and this is the first time I'd had my own office. And I had to look like I was used to this. This was the same thing, but it was kitted out with mahogany furniture. I even had a wardrobe in my office. It was, you know, and when they left the office and left me in there, I was like, yes, I can't believe it, you know. Yeah, it was just like, you know, it was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realise, I hadn't actually realised the enormity of the role. When I did start, they said to me, okay, we're just going to organise some cocktail parties in all of the islands for you. So I started off with accountability for 9 islands in the Eastern Caribbean.
Oh my gosh.
And we went over to them, and at each of the parties, they had these rooftop terraces and everything to introduce me to my new client base. And
how did that feel?
It was overwhelming. It's so surreal. I mean, I was just thinking, you know, I was looking at myself thinking, you're 27 years old now. You're a single mum with a 3-year-old son. And you're here.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those, as I often do, you drop on your knees and you thank God.
Yeah,
because it's about, you know, again, being blessed. I always think I think it's a mixture of being at the right time, right place at the right time. Yes, I've got some skills, but I'm also very blessed. I think, you know, a combination of all of those things helped me in terms of propelling me. And within the space of a year being there, we were doing a big restructure and merging with another part of the Shell organisation. And, you know, there was rumours that everyone was going to have to reapply for their roles.
Right.
So you're kind of thinking, all right. Then I got a call and they said, look, you've got 24 hours to tell us if you want this, but you're not going to have to reapply. We want to offer you this wider North Latin America regional role.
What?
So you'll have accountability for 20 islands.
Hold on a second. So people's under pressure and you're just getting paid.
Yeah, it was exactly, that's exactly how. And you know, you're just kind of like, really? And they're like,
Wow.
yes. So yeah,
God, man.
it
God
was
is good.
it was really, he is true.
Wow, that's amazing. But also what I want to talk about is this company that you got with your son,
Yes.
the RTs Soft Play Paradise that you do with your son. I mean, how did that venture start as well?
Yeah. Well, it starts on the 1st of September, believe it or not. We travel over to Barbados.
Hey,
so
take me with you.
You can always come along. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, because he's doing his degree at the moment, he's doing entrepreneurship and business management.
Yes.
So
Mama.
he's following in the footsteps. He's very interested in property development, which is what he wants to look into. But he's also a sportsman, and I again always, you know, probably on a weekly basis come up with 3 or 4 new initiatives that we could or couldn't do. And this one came up and I was having a conversation with my sister saying to her, you know, because she's based out in Barbados, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities for child's play, etc. There are very few of them. You know, this might be something we'd look into. And then I kind of casually mentioned it to my son and he was like, yes, I'm on it.
Wow.
And he said to me, look, what I would like to do is use my money that I've got for uni to invest into it.
That's amazing.
And for me, once you see a child making that effort and putting that foot forward, you can't not want to be involved.
Of course.
So you can imagine my heart swelled with pride.
Yeah.
And so we started the mapping out. He did all of the calculations in terms of room sizes, what we needed, equipment we needed, and he did a full list of that. And then we went out and we shopped and we bought all the things that we needed. Fortunately for me, I have a great friend in Barbados who owns a gym there, and he's allowed us to use his facilities to be able to house it, which is great.
That's brilliant, because you're going to need that space with all the mums coming with all the kids.
Absolutely, exactly. So we've created the website, all of that, and
yeah, your website looks fab, by the way.
Thank you. That was me.
Oh, well
that was me. Well, my small talent on that. But yeah, and we now have, we did just a small bit of marketing, but in the space of doing a small bit of marketing, we've had 10 bookings for birthday parties.
Well done.
Yeah, so we're really quite pleased about that. So I'm only going over for 2 weeks. I think he's there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
We've got, it's going to be a big family affair because we're starting off just on weekends, so that we can kind of manage it, because obviously we're over here and he's back at university. So we've got my sister involved, her boyfriend's involved, we've got, you know, one of my nieces.
It's like a family affair, really.
Absolutely. So it's about giving some other people some opportunities, and also giving something different for people to use. So we've gone for some really nice, unique concepts, things like teddy bear picnics, which is not something that they're used to having there. And we've got an indoor picnic area, so we exported even fake grass over and everything, so it's going to look pretty
really
fun.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's cool. But what I like about that business that you've set up with your son is because you want it to really mirror for other mothers and their children to have that bonding time together.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so imperative.
Yeah, because it's, you know, you will have gone to Jamaica and you will know that quite often they don't have sort of the prenatal and antenatal care and things that they have here. One of the things that Reese and I have discussed, and we've spoken to our doctor over there, is for him to come in and do some talks as well. So talking about things like breastfeeding, you know, about immunisations, all those kind of things that aren't necessarily things in the Caribbean that go hand in hand. the other thing is quite often when people have babies and stuff in the Caribbean, they go back to work, within 3 months or 6 months, whatever the case may be, but they don't have other mothers who they can go and talk to, etc.
Okay.
And that's what we want to facilitate. We want to facilitate that.
And that's so
opportunity.
important, because obviously you need to have that support system.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's amazing. I really love that. But then you've also got the Flexie Bench. I mean, jeez, you're just thinking, oh God, you're trying to hop my head. You've got so many things going on. So talk about that.
The Flexie Bench is my baby.
Right.
It absolutely is. It is my retirement package. There's something for me, it's called annual reoccurring revenue, which just basically is the concept of making money while you're asleep.
Hey.
And that's what Flexie Bench will do.
I need a Flexie Bench right now, trust me.
That's one side of it, but the other side of that, it is about allowing people to work from wherever they are in the world. It's a virtual platform that will have lots of different projects and programs that people can work on. So you can either work on them remotely, so it could be anything from proofreading, writing an essay, to any sort of content development. It could be web programming, but whatever skill that you have, you offer it on there. It's the same way as, as a small business or a startup. Quite often one of the challenges when you're applying for some of these larger contracts, and I've been in the situation myself, hence why we've created it, is that we know that we have the skill to do it, but we don't have a large enough team to be able to put forward. So for all new contracts, generally what they ask for is named individuals.
Right.
So a lot of small businesses, startups, etc., will have maybe 2 or 3 people, but they might not have the whole team. We're providing a platform which they can retain people, so they can negotiate with you, say right, okay, I want to use Kaz. Kaz has got the skills that I need. Kaz, I'm going to negotiate if I'm, £200 for you to stay off the market for a week whilst I put in this bid. Right. If I'm successful with that bid, then you will receive that full £200 plus whatever your day rate or whatever rate it is per hour for you to deliver the thing that I need. If I'm not successful, you still get £100 so out of that for taking, staying off the market for your time as well. So it doesn't matter what skill it is, and at the moment we actually officially go live on the 1st of August, but we've already had people starting to sign up globally.
So can anybody sign up?
Anyone can sign up. Anyone.
Just your skills.
Your skills. If you go on, you'll search through. You create your profile. You can do your video. We send 6 questions for you to answer. For you to do that, you upload your profile on there, so that gives your portfolio, and then you just start to bid for pieces of work, and there'll be projects on there. I love that.
I love the fact that because then it's like a competition, so you got to ensure it's a bit like anything for Fiverr. Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit like we say kind of it's the reverse of eBay. In terms of your bidding. So, if someone's bidding in terms of, your skills, etc. The other thing that's really, really good about it is that you can either do what we call on-site work, which means it could be physical work. So you could, maybe you're a painter and decorator, and somebody comes on there and says, well, actually I've got, I'd like my whole house decorated. It's my budget is £300, and then you go in and bid, and you might say, well, okay, I can do it for £350, or whatever the case may be, and then it's a negotiation. We also offer reference checking as well, so it's a tiered approach, but initially you can go on, it's free for you to go on to register. We're very open and transparent, the team. We take a commission, obviously, and the commission basically comprises of us running the platform as well as having our back office people, and then we make a small profit. But in general, it's about helping others to do things more successfully. So if you're somebody who's got a disability, who can't go out and do traditional work, it's an opportunity for you, some of your skills there. But also it can be physical, so both on-site and off-site work that's involved, or remote working. You could work from the beach. You know, as long as you've got the skill that someone is asking for, that's absolutely.
You could be proofreading on a beach on your laptop and just, you know,
absolutely. So, you know, it's one of those things that even if you're in full-time work at the moment, but you are looking to maybe save some money for a deposit, for a house or a flat or whatever the case may be, you can be doing that, you know, in your spare time. You know, you spend probably 2 or 3 hours in the evening just gazing at your laptop or watching television. Well, actually, you could be making money during that time as well. You could be in the bath making money. You know, it doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the good things. A lot of people say, well, why Flexie Bench? What does that mean? A lot of the traditional consultancies have what they call a bench, which is basically someone who people will sit on to rotate in and out of projects. So we've called it the Flexie Bench, so that it's what we call the ultimate flexible workforce.
And I do like your advert as well for it. It's amazing, by the way. So before we wrap up, what is your social media feeders as well?
Right, so
You just talk to the camera.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there's a myriad of them. If you're interested in change management, transformation or training, then I would say that you go to our Premier Change Consulting. We're on Facebook. We've got a website, .co.uk for the Premier Change Consulting. For the Flexie Bench, it's theflexibench.com or theflexibench.co.uk. We're also on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook as well. We've got quite a large following on both. And if you want to join us at RTs Soft Play, we will be having our great picnic, teddy bear picnic, on the 3rd of September. So please come along and join us, and you can sign up online.
Okay, and also before we wrap up, like finally wrap up, what encouraging message what advice would you give to, say, somebody that wants to set up their own business? Because obviously you've got your hand in so many different pies at the moment, but what would you say to an individual that may want to start business and they just they've been working in a job, they've been doing a job, they just really dislike it? What would you say to that person? And they've got an idea.
So you have an idea, you have one life, and you only have one opportunity to live that life. And I would suggest that anyone that's got a passion, and it's got to be passion, because it doesn't make sense leaving to do something that you haven't got your heart and soul into it. You've got to believe in it, and then you go out, you investigate, you see what the market is like. You can start your businesses. Quite often people start their businesses whilst they're still working, and that's probably the best advice I would give to someone. If you've got something that's a hobby or something you want to turn into a job or into a business, then I would start whilst I was working and then build it out from there. But just take the opportunity, get yourself a mentor. If you haven't got any experience in setting up businesses, make sure you get an accountant. Always get an accountant, because you can get yourself into a hell of a lot of trouble with HRMC. So those are the types of things I would say, is get yourself a mentor, go out there, explore the market, and take the risk.
Right.
Take the risk.
Thank you. So guys, you heard that. You heard it from the boss lady herself. Take the risk. If you don't take the risk, then you will never know. And one thing we don't want you to do is end up going to the grave. I know it sounds really like I'm being harsh. Go to the grave with your dreams still in you. There's something so great about you, and that's the reason why you've been created. So until next time, thank you for watching. We love you, myself and Karen. Love you, Not Ordinary Woman Chat Show. Bye until the next time. Peace out. Love ya.
Woman, you are the key. It's only natural. Woman, you are the start. You are the beginning, and that is a problem.